my channel, and for those who are new, welcome to my channel. If you can't tell by the title and the intro, this is my entry into the NYX Professional Makeup 2018 Face Awards. Okay guys, let's jump into it. So first of all, I'm running a glue stick through my brows and then brushing the hairs upwards to make them stick down. Then going in with the color correcting palette by NYX and also the hashtag no filter powder to set them in place. Using the eye and eyebrow pencil in dark brown, I'm going to be using that just to map out where I want to have the chunks of scales, just to get an idea of what I'm looking for. This is just sort of like a rough go. You don't have to be too precise on this. We will add detail later on down the track. So if you can see, I'm just sort of mapping out the scales now and where I want them. These do not have to be precise. Don't overthink them, because if you do overthink them, they never work out. So just do some little squiggly circles and round sort of shapes and just whatever your heart desires. It's a serpent look, so you know there is no exact way that they have to be. For foundation, I've gone with the Stay Matte But Not Flat in Creamy Natural and the Total Control drops in Mocha and mix them together. Yes, I know this is not my skin tone, but I wanted to go with a darker colour just to contrast against the actual greens that we're putting on and make them pop a little bit more. So taking some green face paint, I'm going to be putting that on with a beauty sponge and just put that in dabbing motions, just so you don't mess up the lines underneath, even though I cover them anyway. And popping on some light green just over that, just in the middle section, just to make those colours pop. Also going in with concealer under my eye, and that's the NYX concealer in light, and going over that in light beige tag no filter powder, as well as setting the rest of my face. Now using my favourite jumbo pencil in milk just as a base, and then also going in with the jumbo pencil in dark brown, and I'm going to be carving out a crease. So to smoke out the crease and make it look a little bit deeper, we are going to be using a brown eyeshadow to do so, and then going back in with that jumbo pencil and deepening it up. Using any concealer, just go underneath that crease just to cut the line and make it a little bit more sharp, and also as a base to pop on some eyeshadows. For these shadows, I use the Art Throb palette and just the two greens out of that. So if you can't tell, this is where my camera cut out. I use the eyeshadow base in black to wing out the section and blend them into the green eyeshadows, and also use the Vinyl Liquid Liner in black to line my eyes. And because the Jumbo White Milk pencil is so versatile, I've used that to comb through my brows and also place some of those green eyeshadows on top. Now going in with Black Bean, I'm going to be shading under the scales on the other eye and blending that in with a black shadow. Also going to be putting the Jumbo pencil in Milk and those same green shadows on top of that, and we're going to blend and blend and blend and just get into character, of course. And this is where we start to add a little bit of dimension to our look. So we're going to be taking the Art Throb palette and the dark green in that, and we're going to be popping that onto one side of the scales. So you want to think of the light coming from above you. So if you do that, it is going to be casting a shadow on one side of your face. So you want to shade the one side of your face. Now I'm going in with some brown face paint, and I'm just outlining those scales just to make them appear again a little bit more 3D, and then I'm going around the outside of it just to add a bit more dimension. Also taking the lighter green, I'm going to be adding more of a highlight, which is what you need to interact your shadows to make them appear more 3D. So you want to pop this on the other side of the where you've put the shadow. So I'm also taking the Vivid Brights liner in Vivid Halo, and I'm going to be using that also as a highlight, but a smaller highlight which will actually define the scales more. Using the same eyeliner, I'm just going to be lining my eyes with that, and I decided that the shadows weren't dark enough, so I took a mixture of black and the green and just popped that over where I put the mid-tone green beforehand. Now taking the yellow out of the Avantpop palette Surreal My Heart, I'm just going to be popping that as a highlight on the nose. So this is also going to brighten up that nose area. take the black also from the same palette. I'm going to be drawing lines where it's going to be pulling the skin, because obviously if you're going to have this look, it is actually going to be pulling your skin outwards because the serpent is coming out from within. I also felt that the highlight that I put on beforehand was not strong enough, so I've gone in with some white face paint and I've just put that over the opposite side to the shading that I've done. Okay, so this part is where I've realised I did not like the lump on the side of my mouth. So yes, I took a makeup wipe and removed that. Now, using the black vinyl liner, I am actually going to be outlining those scales even further. This again is going to be casting a shadow, so you're actually going to be deepening that shadow just to show that the black area is receded back and the scales are actually coming forward. Okay guys, so I know I'm doing a lot of shading and highlighting, but I do promise you, the more shading and the more highlighting that you do, it is going to look phenomenal. So you're actually going to achieve that look that you are wanting to actually make it look more 3D and like it's actually coming out of your skin. We've deepened the scales. Now we want to deepen the nose area. So again, I'm taking the vinyl liquid liner and also some black eyeshadow and actually shading that downwards, because again, that is a rigid area, so it is going to be casting a shadow on the next down. Also taking that same black shadow, just going on the outside, and also taking the same yellow eyeshadow from before and popping that on just to deepen that color, because I lost a bit with the shading. Alright, now onto my favourite part, which is the eye on the chest. Going to be taking some yellow face paint and just shading in the outsides of the eye, I suppose you would call them. Using a brown shadow just to shade the outermost part of the eye, and we will fill in detail in that later. Now I wanted this look to appear like the eye is breaking out of the skin, but in a different way that the patches have been. So I'm going with a more sort of cracked porcelain look. So again, you can use a reference picture for this one. If you actually have a look at the way porcelain does crack, you'll actually be able to see the effect that it does have. So where it actually breaks and what the parts look like. And again, you can make this your own. Just don't overthink it, because if you overthink it, it never works out. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to shade the area, the negative space area. So I'm shading just around between the cracked porcelain and the scales, and I'm also doing the lines as well, because they're also going to be a negative space area. For the rest of the body, you're going to be doing exactly what you did on the face. So you're going to be starting off with the darker green, which is going to be your shading, and then you're going to be using the lighter green to highlight with. Now, as you go, seriously don't get disheartened, because as I said, it's all about layering. So the more that you do, so the more shading, the more highlighting, the more reference pictures you can look at to see the way that light and shadows work, the better, and your look will just come together. I mean, look at mine to start off with, it looks horrible, and then you layer and layer and layer, and you actually get the look that you're looking for. How many times in one sentence can someone say look? Anywho, now we're going to be filling in the eye with some black and using a brown shadow just to shade around the edges of the eye in towards the yellow area. Again, the reason for doing this is because those scales are actually going to be casting a shadow. Now you want to take some white paint and you actually want to fill in the little spot, reflection, not quite sure what you call it, in the eye. This is actually going to give it a more realistic effect as well. Now the same as what we did with the scales, you want to shade in from the outside inwards. This again makes it look like there is a darker area that is negative space. So it looks like the eye is sort of appearing to be in the darkness and coming out of your chest. Realistic, I know. Taking the same white face paint, you're going to be using that again as a highlight on the opposite side that you have shaded. Also, you are going to want to shade the bits that have actually cracked off, the porcelain effect, because these again are actually going to be raised. So you want them to look like they are higher than your skin and that they are actually physically cracked. And again, because you've actually put a shadow in, you need to put a highlight in. So just taking some white cream paint, just blobbing that into the center and sort of feathering it outwards. Also realised that the areas that I shaded beforehand weren't deep enough, so I took some black just on a few of them just to pop those out more. Using the same white, you want to go on one side of those crack lines. Again, this is going to give a highlight to your shadow and going to make them appear again like they are cracked through the skin. Again, it's just a matter of doing the same steps on all the sections of scales, just the shading and the highlighting, and again just the shadows around the edges of them brought inwards, which will again make it look like it is not part of your skin and it's coming from within. So here I've also taken some more of that white face paint and just put it around the outside. So again, this is going to be your highlight to your shadow. It is going to show that in part like your natural skin is raised and the scales are receded backwards. Now as you're working with a lot of black shadows, you do tend to get a bit of fallout, so just use that same foundation brush and clean up your areas. To contour, I am using the Highlight and Contour palette by NYX, and obviously just contouring in my normal spots. Now on to the lip area. So taking a green liquid lipstick, I'm going to be using this and just sort of feathering out the outsides of my lips just to sort of give that snake feel to it. And then taking that same green shadow we've used throughout the look and just putting that on the outsides and blending it inwards to give an ombre effect. Also taking that lighter green, I have popped that into the center of my mouth just to highlight that section. Just to tie the lips in, and because I'm a little bit extra, I used a stencil which had snakeskin pattern on it and pushed that yellow shadow into the stencil, which actually in turn made an imprint on my lips. I thought it looked pretty cool. And using the NYX blush in Amber and also the highlighter, one of the duochrome highlighters in Twilight, I've popped that on the high points of my cheekbone and also on my nose, and I did brush it over the scales a little bit as well just to give that iridescent feel. For mascara, I've used the Colour Mascara in Perfect Pair and popped that on my normal lashes as well as my false lash, pop some contacts in, and there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this look as much as I did creating it. Just want to wish everybody good day.